we promised you a great main event here tonight.
WrestleMania is running west.
The Rock, go yourself. So, for the first time in WWE history, an F-bomb was dropped, which is crazy, and it just goes to show the impact that something can have. Elimination Chamber 2025 from this, it's not the Skydome, it's the Rogers Centre in Toronto, Canada. I will always say Skydome in Toronto, Canada, because for me that was epic. My first WrestleMania, Hogan against Warrior, the ultimate challenge. But we saw something equally as ultimate on Saturday night at Elimination Chamber. So we're just over a day after Elimination Chamber. And rather than doing this straight after, I thought I needed to compose myself and gather my thoughts on what was one of the best PLEs in WWE history, which sounds like a big claim. But you look at that from start to finish and everything that happened, only 4 matches, only needed 4 matches. It was an epic night. It has set a fire to the road to WrestleMania. Set a fire to the road? That's not a good analogy, is it? It has set us well and truly on course. And to think there were some people moaning. I talked about it in my previous video. There were some people moaning about the road to WrestleMania just a few weeks ago. Oh, it's not as good as blah, blah, blah. And I did say last year's was epic. Well, I think we may have something that's going to rival WrestleMania 40 build right now with what happened at Elimination Chamber. And not just the big things, some of the smaller things as well. So we had the Elimination Chambers. We had 4 matches, as mentioned. Before I go on to talk about what the world, and I do feel like the world is, I just saw something on Instagram this morning saying all of these celebrities around the world commenting on what John Cena did. John Cena obviously is not as big as The Rock in terms of Hollywood star, but he is a very famous person in this world. The Rock is probably the most famous person, maybe apart from Taylor Swift, or he's up there anyway. Travis Scott is probably in the top 10 or 15, 20 people. And in terms of cultural influence, he is huge. How many people are buying Travis Scott trainers now or selling their Travis Scott trainers after what happened? Huge impact of this event. But it kicked off with the Women's Elimination Chamber, and boy, did it kick off. So we have all the entrances come into the ring. So you got Roxanne Perez from NXT, who pretty much is on the main roster now, and did not do herself any harm with another solid showing after her Rumble showing. She is really good. And I watch NXT every week, see clips sometimes, and see the odd match here and there. But I can see what the hype is about in the last few weeks. And sometimes when people come up to the main roster, you don't normally get that instant. You don't see it straight away, and obviously she's not as over as the other ladies in this chamber, but she's well on the way to becoming a superstar, a big superstar in WWE. So we had Roxanne Perez, Bayley, who is at the opposite end, not calling Bayley old, but the opposite end of the scale of experience, won everything, done everything, but not won a chamber. That came up on the thing. She's won everything, but not won a chamber. Then we had the former tag team champions up till a week ago, Bianca Belair and Naomi in the match. And then you had Liv Morgan, who we'll talk about it in a bit more detail in a second, but I just think this woman goes from strength to strength to strength. And on this channel, we are big Liv Morgan fans for multiple reasons. But the last year or so, pretty much post WrestleMania, so just under a year, her heel turn, and onwards and upwards from there has been phenomenal. The title run, the feud with Rhea, the stuff with Judgment Day, her in-ring ability, IQ, whatever you want to call it, the beatings that she took in this match, not just the hair whip, but the beatings she took in this match, phenomenal. And of course, who returned at Royal Rumble, huge pop, Alexa Bliss as well is in this, and again another good showing. First time I've seen a Twisted Bliss in years, so that was cool. So we have it. 4 women are locked in a pod. It's Naomi and Liv, and you think, okay, well, what Liv's done to Jade, and obviously they've taken their belts from them and all of that. That's a good start. And then a storm is coming. Huge pop for Jade Cargill's return. Amazing reactions from Liv Morgan, and Talia spotted Naomi's reaction. So I did film, and I didn't film, unfortunately, I didn't film the whole reaction for the whole of the Elimination, but I did film our reactions for the beginning or the chamber match of the women. So just have a look at this reaction here from myself and Talia when she comes in. And Talia actually notices Naomi's reaction, which I have now on 4th, 5th, 6th viewing have noticed.
And we are underway in this matchup now tonight. Inside the ring, the officials, Daphne Lewis.
Oh my! Oh!
Oh, Liv Morgan! Liv Morgan! Look at the look on her face! Oh my God. Is that Liv Morgan believe?
Holy!
Say hello to some come up and
Ah!
What the?
What the?
Wait a minute, Jake!
Oh my God! Look at Bianca!
What the hell are you doing, Jake?
What?
Bianca
Naomi did it! I knew it! I knew it!
It's called by
Make assumptions, Cole!
thinking the same thing.
Oh my God!
Was it? Does she believe it was Naomi who attacked her?
Naomi is getting beat down!
Bianca looks on. Well, I'm as shocked as you
Look
are.
at Bailey.
There's Bailey getting shocked.
Yeah, look at her.
Only something incredibly dark.
I've never seen Naomi beat down like this.
Reaction. Cargill has gone berserk.
Beat you, Naomi.
Naomi trying to crawl away, trying to crawl out of the chamber. The officials trying to separate.
Oh my God!
Cargill. No. And Cargill.
Oh!
Slamming Naomi into the side of the chamber.
So, who saw this coming? Well, it seemed a bit too good to be true, didn't it? That Liv and Raquel were the perpetrators when they would have just admitted it anyway, and they were heels and they were up against them in War Games. It made a lot of sense. But who was the one who took the tag team titles? Who was the one who said, "Yeah, I'll be your tag team partner, Bianca. I'll get some gold around my waist. I'll take it." I thought it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The fact that Bianca's locked in the chamber, Bianca's reaction, everyone else's reaction, Alexa Bliss's reaction, Bailey's reaction. Obviously, Bailey's got a stake in this too. Good friends with Naomi. I thought it was phenomenal. An absolute red hot start to the women's elimination chamber. The beatings that Naomi took. And this is maybe the dynamic in wrestling with men and women. You don't often see in the female division beatings like that, and you should, because you get it in the male division. But I said to Talia that I was trying to explain it to her without trying to sound sexist or whatever. She goes, "No, they're not as aggressive as the men," and she's right. You don't often get that level of aggression. I mean, you did, you get it again with the end of the show and obviously throughout the show at Elimination Chamber. But that level of aggression in the women, and Jade Cargill looked $1 million doing it, beating her down, doing it, and I'm hoping, well, we get Jade versus Naomi at WrestleMania, which would be great, and it's great to have a non-title women's match at WrestleMania. So I hope that's what happens. However, how does Bianca play into this? Bianca's friends with both of them, close with both of them. Obviously, still doesn't have any answers, so we'll see how that plays. The chamber itself was phenomenal. I think it's probably the best women's chamber, and there's been some really good women's chamber matches. The first one's really good. The tag team one, which Sasha and Bailey won, tag team titles, is really good. But there've been some good women's elimination chambers. This one I thought was 5-star, was brilliant. Everyone did their part. As we've already mentioned, Liv, the beatings that this woman took was just brilliant. I love the bit with Alexa Bliss. I wonder if that's a feud, Liv and Alexa Bliss, because she eliminated a thing down to the last two. And I didn't know. I mean, again, as I've said before in the show recently, I've been really good off Twitter, off the X, off the spoilers. So I didn't know who was planned to win. And actually, this one I thought this was, if you didn't know, maybe people did know because, things get spoiled or whatever. But if you didn't know, actually, there was a few who could have won it. And they haven't teased Bianca versus Rhea. But I think the right winner, I would have liked to see Liv win, but I think we've seen Liv and Rhea enough. And I think the right winner, and actually, this has been a dream match for at least 2 years in my head. At least, probably people will say from NXT and all that, but for me, since they've both risen, since Rhea beat Charlotte at 39, I think, and probably Bianca from a couple of years before that, obviously winning the main event of night one in 37, beating Becky Lynch at 38, beating Asuka at 39. I think, that these have been the two best overall women in terms of wrestling, in terms of their star status. They were both on the cover of WWE 2K24 last year. So I do like Io Sky, and Io Sky's obviously got a match with Rhea Ripley. We've seen Bianca versus Io Sky. When they both came out at the end, you think maybe there's a triple threat there. If maybe there's a no decision in that, I would actually like it, because I think we're going to get at least one, if not two, other triple threats at WrestleMania. I would actually like it to be a one-on-one. That's a WrestleMania match. And in another year, in a different year, where we haven't got maybe all the star power on the men's side and what's happening there, I think that could be a night one headline, Bianca versus Rhea. I'm happy. I've been to the last 3-4 WrestleMania. This would not be a disappointing main event. This would be a huge main event. The build right over there. These are two absolute icons of the female department, two future Hall of Famers, two of the best, two best women wrestlers in the world, and that counts in terms of everything. Wrestling, in terms of mic work, in terms of character work. Bianca Belair is phenomenal, as I keep saying. I think probably underrated how good she is. She could have a match with anyone and make them look good. Power is ridiculous. Power, matchup, strength, speed, everything. This is like a old school proper face versus face, which I thought we were going to get when John Cena won the Elimination Chamber, and I'm down with that. So I do like Io, and Triple Threat wouldn't be terrible. In fact, it'd probably be a very good match. But I think at WrestleMania, because it's for the top, because it's that, because we've never, and maybe had it in NXT, but we've never had it since they've got to this star power. Bianca versus Rhea would be my choice for that. Will it headline night one? Well, you've got Jey Uso and Gunther locked in, and you've got to do something with Roman Reigns and CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And if Roman Reigns, well, not if Roman Reigns, surely Roman Reigns is wrestling, and then he is wrestling, of course he's going to wrestle, and then how can he not be the main event or one of the nights? Especially if it's up against CM Punk and Seth Rollins. So that's an interesting one, and that's for the next 6 weeks to less than 6 weeks now, I think we are in. Or is it 6 weeks? 6 weeks on next week. 7 weeks, whatever it is. It's quite, it feels like a lot. It's 7 weeks, isn't it? It's just under 7 weeks. So we've got that. Next matchup was Chelsea Green. It was not Chelsea Green. It was Trishi and Tiffy against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. This was okay. I mean, this was after the speed and the quality of the first match, and that this is probably you need something, and I think it was fine because Trish might be her last ever. I mean, they didn't advertise that she's retired at least twice, I think, before, but probably her last ever match at Toronto. She got to wrestle in front of the kids. I thought Wade Barrett on commentary was brilliant during this match. He's good. Let's talk about Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett, I really like Corey Graves. So I like the fact that at the PLEs, Corey Graves is the third man with McAfee and Cole. McAfee and Cole locked in, fine, no problem with them. But Wade Barrett is really good as well. And I do miss Corey Graves because I really like Corey Graves. I know there was that whole stuff with him tweeting stuff or whatever, but I would, they're both really good. I think they're both really good, got the right heel tendencies, a bit old school with their heel commentary, especially when you've got Michael Cole, of course, voice of WWE. You've got Pat McAfee, is just Pat McAfee, and he is sometimes heel if The Rock's there, mainly face, brilliant. The fact that we've got Pat McAfee now every week until the football season again, on Netflix and at PLEs at WrestleMania is brilliant. Like as Michael Cole always says, he's just himself. He is just himself, and you could tell that. He absolutely is, and he adds, I don't know, with his obviously his NFL stuff, adds a layer of credibility to the WWE, or in terms of that. But he reacts like, he reacts like me and Talia when we were watching wrestling. That's what he reacts like, in terms of some of the stuff. So yeah, it was a possible match. Tiffy wins with a pretty smooth whatever on 9, gets a pin over 9, which I think is important. And now we're going to get the build to Tiffy versus. I mean, we're talking a lot about heels and faces. Just in case you're watching this and you don't know what I'm talking about, of course you do, because there's no way you've got at least 10 minutes into this video with not knowing what wrestling is and not knowing that a babyface is a good guy / girl and a heel is a bad guy slash girl. So interestingly, so because Charlotte gone on full heel, obviously she's got the negative reactions. But has she gone full heel? I feel like when she sat over her with the chair, which was brilliant, and I think everyone acknowledges Charlotte is a phenomenal heel and phenomenal wrestler. So I would like that, and I think that will help Tiffy. Everyone's going to be wanting Tiffy to win anyway because they're like, Charlotte can't do this. I'm going to be shorting Charlotte Flair. I love Tiffy, but I'm going to be shorting Charlotte Flair in Vegas at WrestleMania. So we've got that build now to go, and that's sort of Tiffy's path for the next 6 to 7 weeks. So then we had an unsanctioned match. Explain to Tyler, what's unsanctioned? Unsanctioned. This is what unsanctioned is. So why is the referee there? Well, there's to count. He has to count to 3. I like the fact they did the referee in normal clothes or not referee clothes. Almost added to it. They darkened out the other area like it was, because it's pretty much, it's just a no disqualification match, isn't it? Or Extreme Rules match, whatever you want to call it. But I've seen a load of people, everyone's seen a lot of Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. It's been a while since they've faced each other. And, they just keep knocking it out of the park. This was brilliant. An absolute brilliant, unsanctioned, no disqualification match. Some of the stuff that happened, the chairs, the barbed wire, everything. I mean, KO takes beats, and he always has, let's be honest. Like, this is the man that, in that stupid silent WrestleMania, fell off the sign, didn't he? The pirate thing in Seth Rollins. He is, KO is phenomenal. Again, we're talking about underrated people. We talk about Bianca Belair being underrated. I think Kevin Owens is there. This man main evented 2 WrestleMania. He main evented with Stone Cold Steve Austin in Texas. He main evented with Sami Zayn against the Usos in California, in Hollywood. He's main evented 2 WrestleManias. They trust him completely. He's phenomenal. Kevin Owens. But great match. Interestingly, I wonder if Sami Zayn's going to be written off TV now and miss WrestleMania because obviously of the neck injury, which he went down on, double down on. And I wonder if that happens because, as I've said on the last few videos on the channel, how do you fit everyone on a WrestleMania card? And maybe how you don't fit Sami Zayn is that Sami Zayn's injured. But that would be pretty harsh on Sami Zayn. I don't think Sami Zayn would want to miss it, but we'll see. Maybe he's got some other niggling injuries. Maybe he's got a real injury that we don't know about. He has to have surgery, and maybe this is a way to write him off. Or is it? Because he was about to take a package power driver on the concrete floor outside, and then we heard voices and humongous pop, a night of humongous pops. Randy Orton comes back, RKO's Kevin Owens, then he RKO's, well, he doesn't RKO everyone else yet, beats out Kevin Owens a bit, and this is what I love, and this is where you're adding layers and layers of people who've watched it for years, people who just watching it, load of people know Randy Orton is, again, casual viewers, new viewers, Netflix viewers, all of this sort of stuff, but for people who've watched it for years and years and years and years, you remember the punt kick, the banned punt kick, and Randy Orton takes a few steps back. Most of the crowd know where this is going, they haven't seen it in years, and I love the fact he didn't do it, because I feel like we may get the punt kick at WrestleMania on KO, assuming it's RKO versus KO at WrestleMania, which I think will be great. But then a load of security comes in. I think 4 of them come in, four of them that all take RKOs brilliantly, and we get Randy Orton back. So Orton is back. Looks like Orton versus KO. Another match looks like it's not locked in, but looks very much like it will be a WrestleMania match. Now, the men's elimination chamber. Is this the best men's elimination chamber? It's certainly up. I mean, the first one for me as a Shawn Michaels fan, despite my Bret Hart hoodie, as a, Shawn Michaels, I think I've said this before, Shawn Michaels, Roman Reigns. It's hard to decide who's my favourite of all time, but it's one of those two. So Shawn Michaels won the first ever elimination chamber. Didn't think he was going to win with those awful brown tights that he was wearing at the time, but he didn't think he was going to win a title after coming back after 9 or 7 years, however long it was out injured for. So that was good, and there's been some great elimination chambers. I think this is up there because I think you put the elimination chamber with the post-elimination chamber angle, and there is 1 hour, and I know there's 1 hour and 15 minutes of the best thing on Netflix. The best thing on Netflix this year, the best thing on Netflix in the last 6 months is that 1 hour and 15. And you start the elimination chamber, huge star power. In another life, Damian Priest would be the number 1 or 2 good guy right now in WWE. And WWE doing well, and he had a great run as champion, El Campione. Brilliant match with Gunther at SummerSlam, where the crowd really genuinely got behind him, and there's a huge crowd at SummerSlam got behind him. Obviously, he's lost that now, finished feuding with that. So you had him in Logan Paul again. Whatever people want to say about Logan Paul and this and that and all the stuff he does, whatever outside of WWE and his politics and his this and his that and whatever else, he is bloody good in the ring. He's just bloody good in the ring, and he is, I think, now got better than just doing the big spot, like something flying off. He did do a great frog splash top of one of the pods, but it's more than that. He can do more than that. He's telling a story in there. He's comfortable, and it doesn't look. That's why it's the biggest compliment to Logan Paul is that everyone else was a world champion, former world champion. Some of them, obviously, I don't know how many titles there were between all 5 of the others. Obviously, Priest has got 1, McIntyre's got a few, but between Punk, Rollins, and obviously 16-time John Cena, huge star power. He's not out of place in there. He's absolutely in place in there. I didn't want him to win, so I was glad when he got eliminated, and I was glad. And again, the slap that he got from CM Punk, he took a slap back and a GTS. Drew McIntyre was first to get eliminated. John Cena comes in, Super Cena, beats everyone, I think 3 AAs to everyone, then eats a Claymore, and instead of pinning him, wants to go and trash talk him, which is the story of Drew of the last year, and it's the best story that Drew's ever been involved in, of this character or whatever, of him doing something good, winning a belt, winning Money in the Bank, doing all that stuff, and then costing himself with his hatred, with his rage, with his paranoia, with his anger, and so then he gets rolled up like a crucifix pin by Damian Priest. Then he hits Damian Priest with a Claymore. Then Logan Paul eliminates Damian Priest. So it looks like Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest for WrestleMania. That looks like another match that we're going to have. I'm not disappointed with that. I think that's going to be good. I really like DP. I like Drew McIntyre. Their match that I was at in Scotland, Clash at the Castle in Glasgow, was brilliant. And obviously had the brilliant ending with the CM Punk referee, but it was actually just a brilliant match. Obviously, really hot crowd, huge, face at the time. Drew McIntyre is in his home country, but so I think that looks like that. Logan Paul, I thought there was murmurs or whatever, or the hint that he might get thrown into program with CM Punk for WrestleMania, and again, just praised Logan Paul, but I do not want to see CM Punk's first WrestleMania match in 11 years or something now it is, because if he didn't compete last year, be against Logan Paul. They'll have a great match, but I don't think we need to see that. I don't want to see that, is what I'm saying. So I think he got him back, eliminated him at the Rumble slap back thing, Logan Paul's out, and then you've got Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and John Cena. And we almost get a face-off between CM Punk and John Cena, but Seth comes in. And now I want to point to this bit, and I called it straight away. John Cena and CM Punk team up briefly. You get a heart attack. This is the Hart Foundation's finishing move. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Bret the Hitman Hart in Canada is out of it, and we get the collision. And does it disappoint? No. Is CM Punk 46 and John Cena's 47? Yes. Does it even? Are you thinking about that? No. Can they still go? Yes. And this is why they're obviously 2 future Hall of Famers going at it. Crowd absolutely into it. And why wouldn't you be? They had a great feud. And, Money in the Bank 2013? 13 or 11? 2013. John Cena and, is it 11? Whichever one it is in my top 5 matches of all time. John Cena and CM Punk in Chicago. CM Punk leaves with the belt and leaves WWE. That's up there with it's absolutely my top 5 matches of all time. Probably one of the matches I've watched the most as well. So you get that. It's a great throwback. 2 of the biggest stars right now in WWE, obviously John Cena on his farewell tour, CM Punk hugely over babyface. So you get them going at it. Seth comes in, and you've got that, and you've got obviously the storylines. Obviously Seth had a great feud with John Cena. Seth obviously is in a feud and hates CM Punk to the detriment of himself. He hates CM Punk. So you've got all of this. Finally gets eliminated with a GTS and AA. Punk falls on him for the pin. He's eliminated, but he doesn't leave the Elimination Chamber, which they obviously shoot it right, and it's right angle, so you don't know that Seth Rollins hasn't left and the door's still open and Seth's just lying in a heap on the side. Cena and Punk go at it, reversals. Reversals. You get STF. I was going to STFU, STF, and then Anaconda Vice. Various finishes, loads of 2.99 kickouts. And then CM Punk just gets his head over to side, and out of nowhere, you get a stomp from Seth Rollins. John Cena drags him back in, puts him in the STF, and CM Punk passes out. But while he's doing that, John Cena is saying, sorry for taking advantage of the thing. And Talia says to me, he's a good guy. And then that makes the next 15 minutes even more phenomenal. If it could be made even more phenomenal, he's a good guy, because he is a good guy, because that is what John Cena does. And even when John Cena does something wrong, he apologizes. Even if he takes advantage of something, he apologizes. He is a good guy. He is red, white, and blue. He is straight to the core good man. Record number of make-a-wishes. He is John Cena. He is absolutely like coming back for his farewell tour. He's going to get cheered everywhere he goes. And he won. He won Elimination Chamber. So, okay, again, spoiler-free me, so I don't know. I had to guess it would be between CM Punk and John Cena. So they were the right last two, and CM Punk, John Cena gets the win. Now I'm thinking, you've got John Cena against the new John Cena. You've got the two most over babyface of his time against the most over babyface of this time, and traditional, typical, love children, kiss babies, say all the right things, do all the right things, baby faces. And they're going to go at it at WrestleMania, and you're going to get maybe half the crowd chanting Cena, half the chanting Cody. Or obviously we've got Cody's decision coming up. Do you think there's a twist there? Is Cody really going to turn? What I will say just before we get into that is there was a promo, again, for people who watch every week, on Raw with Cody and CM Punk just before the Royal Rumble, and you just started to see a little sign of Cody. Okay, he's tired. He does every show. He signs every autograph. He kisses every baby. He does this. He's at every media appearance. I'm a bit tired, and CM Punk says, I'm your friend. I'm your only friend here. I'm going to stab you in the front. If and he wins the Royal Rumble, he did, and obviously he didn't win an Elimination Chamber, but he's there. But you see, there's a promo, and you go back and watch it on Netflix. It's a good promo. And you just see some cracks in Cody, and maybe you're like, okay, maybe there is a heel turn here. And there's a lot of talk about it over the last couple of months. Keep him fresh. He doesn't. Well, first of all, you don't need to keep him fresh. He is the number one over babyface, even with Roman Reigns in the company and Jey Uso, in the company, and the cheers that they get, and that he is the man there every single week. People are not, there might be a few fans getting tired. Oh, I'm tired of Cody. Tired of Cody. You wanted him to finish his story for 2 years. Now you're tired of him. He's done. I think he's had great title defenses, great programs with Kevin Owens, great match with AJ Styles, great match with Logan Paul. I think he's had a great run of title defenses. The whole bloodline stuff, Solo teaming up with Roman, I thought was good. I think he's had a great run, and he's got, he's going to get a huge match for WrestleMania. Speculation a few months ago is going to be Randy Orton. Is it going to be The Rock? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? And so it's going to be John Cena. I think that, but we had a few signs and a few bits that, so actually when The Rock proposed this, maybe it wasn't completely out of the blue. Push, but not completely out of the blue. So we get it. John Cena's in the ring celebrating, crowd going crazy, 38,000 in Toronto cheering John Cena. Cody's music hits. And straight away, okay, this is a WrestleMania showdown. This is a match. This is Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. Two of the biggest baby faces of all time are going to go at it, and they're going to come in. And The Rock's there, so you're going to get that music, but you still get when you hear that if you smell. So they come in, have a hug. Not a face-off, but a friendly face-off, respect, pointing to crowd, pointing at each other, getting cheers for each other, and then you hear it. You hear if you smell, but it's going to come. It's not a surprise, like, sometimes it can be, but you're going to hear it. And then let's talk about the entrance. If you smell, so he went into a bit of Lil Wayne when he was in New Orleans a couple of weeks ago. Went straight into Fiend because he's with Travis Scott. So the Fiend, which has been one of my favorite songs of the last year or so. Especially once they started doing the WrestleMania advert with it last April, I think it was. They started last March or April with that. He's obviously going to be at WrestleMania now. So Travis Scott comes in with The Rock. So it starts with him, and then it goes back to The Rock's music. Rock is dressed in full Final Boss gear. Let's not let's get confused here. This is not friendly rock. There's no tagging any fans on the way in. This is full on, and he's almost dressed like he's ready to wrestle. And those trousers that he's wearing reminded me of the trousers that he wore when he wrestled at WrestleMania 32 in that 1 minute 10.5 second match, and he had wrestling tights on underneath. And I didn't, I don't feel we're going to get a match, but it was just interesting. Where he's wearing all black with the thing, comes in as The Rock. Travis Scott is burning sage, which I know a lot of people didn't like. I thought Travis Scott is one of the biggest rappers in the world. He's obviously done an entrance with Jey Uso on Netflix. He's obviously a huge wrestling nerd, like all of us, probably watching this, and me and everything, massive wrestling fan. And it's Travis Scott. And Travis Scott is obviously, he's got some tunes and he's got this, but he's also culturally a massive influence. So for WWE to get him in and to use him like this, I thought it was brilliant. And I thought it was hilarious, him just burning the sage. And then they get in the ring, and even how Travis Scott is walking around Cody and the intimidation, like he's, these little, The Rock's little hype man or his little, assistant gangster thing of, not really intimidating, but because he's standing next to The Rock, he's intimidating. And then you've got, in the ring, you've got Cody Rhodes, the number one guy in WWE, the WWE champion. The number one guy in terms of he's the WWE champion. You've got John Cena, who is on his farewell tour, but a world-famous Hollywood movie star. You've got Travis Scott, and you've got, as I said earlier at the beginning of this video, one of, if not the most famous person on the planet in Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And they, it doesn't take too long. They get straight to it. The Rock gets straight to it. He says to Cody, I want your mind. Thank God he didn't say I want your body, because he knows he would have memed off the planet if he said that. So I want your mind. I want your soul. I need your soul. And you can just feel this tension in the ring. Something's going to happen. You know something's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. And I've said this, you've got amazing TV shows, films, sport, and all that. Wrestling, when it's done right, it can bring it all together, and it's live, and it's there, and you're watching it live, or you're watching it as if it was live, and you're there, or you're watching on TV or whatever. And the crowd are right, everything's right, and this felt like absolutely one of those moments. So he needs his soul. And then Cody does that voice when he does it, and it's almost like a heel voice. He goes, I want it all, Rock. And he calls him Rock. He doesn't say The Rock. He always calls him Rock, which I always find interesting when he says, The Rock, I want it all. My soul no longer belongs to me. And then maybe not predictably, but the way he drops those two lines, that actually maybe he is giving his soul to Rock, but he's not. And then he says, soul belongs to these people, belongs to this ring, etc., etc. The Rock's face changes from almost the smile and the hug to the final boss. And then he doesn't have to say this, but this just makes it so much better. Hey, Rock, go fuck yourself. And the official first F-bomb in WWE, which is hilarious because they had people using it and the crowd was saying it, and they beep it out, they silence it out on Netflix. So you look at it, and CM Punk actually drops an F-bomb when he's coming out of the chamber, because he's the last one coming out of the chamber, because it's me, let me in, or something like that. So it does happen. And obviously The Rock used it last year when he was beating him up in Chicago in the parking lot, but it was obviously all beeped out, silenced out, or whatever. But they just let this one, and I've been watching it again this morning. It's still on there, so they have not done that. And I think it's 12 rated. So in the UK here, something rated 12, you're allowed one. I think you're allowed one F-bomb in something in a movie. And there's a. It reminded me of, or in subsequent 5 billion times that I've watched it, 115 million views. I saw that this clip has got 150 million in just over 24 hours. 150 million people. I mean, I might be responsible for maybe 110 of those. So at least 5 out of a million people have watched this. But it reminded me of Minority Report and Tom Cruise. That's a 12 as well, 12 rated. And he uses the F-bomb. And Tom Cruise, I mean, he obviously does it in some movies, but it was a Spielberg movie. It's not a kids movie, but it's a family entertainment movie, and he drops it in there because he gets really angry in Minority Report with one of the scenes, and he drops it in there. And I just remember being wow, and obviously, it just felt like that. It felt like something when you use it sparsely, when you use certain things like blood or swearing or whatever it may be, sparsely, the impact that it can have. Anyway, it had an impact, and I think it blindsides you even more to what's coming, or at least it did for me. To get that massive crowd reaction, obviously the whole time John Cena's looking nervous, then he's cheering on Cody because this is what John Cena does. And if you've seen John Cena, especially in the last couple of years, whenever he's been, he is this hyped man for everyone else. He's cheering, he's a bit goofy, he's a bit silly, but he's cheering him on, and he's almost, I don't know. I'm going to say it's a little bit annoying at times. It's been like that. And he's there, and maybe not the John Cena. Obviously, he's not full-time wrestler anymore and all that. But it's a bit annoying. I don't know. I find it a bit annoying. Anyway, didn't have to be annoyed for long. So then he's there. The crowd are going crazy. The Rock's face is getting angry and angry. You think, okay, Cody's done this, but he's going to get his ass beat now. Cena might save him. Maybe Cena will get his ass beat, but then it's just one Rock. What can Travis Scott do? So see what's going to happen. Cena goes over to embrace him, and many messages about this. When's the first time you noticed something was up? It was just when Cena's face. So from the wider angle, you see Cena's face drop. The closer angle, you see it, and then obviously once you see this, and it's just a moment in time that you will remember when you saw that. You'll remember it forever. And heel turns. There's a list, and the most obvious one to compare this to is the Hulk Hogan one. And I remember, this is pre-proper internet days, so I can't remember how I saw the clip, but we never used to get WCW pay-per-views in the UK. So I can't remember how I saw it, and it must have been like maybe 2 or 3 days later, maybe it was something, but I remember seeing what Hogan did to Randy Savage. Obviously he joined the NWO. I remember being, oh my God, Hogan's turned heel. Finally, he might be interesting again. But that was huge. That was huge. Hulk Hogan turning heel. And obviously that was around Attitude Era time, wasn't it? Just before the Attitude Era, around that time. So wrestling was big. Obviously social media wasn't big, so social media was not in existence. So it's hard for me, I've seen this word used a few times about the industry shifting perspective in terms of the eyeballs it gets on it. It was a different kind of eyeballs then. It was the people watching wrestling every week on normal TV, and maybe a few people chatting about it on internet forums, and that's it. That was the wrestling audience, and magazines and traditional stuff, and there were people like me talking into a camera and putting it on YouTube, trying to get people to listen to me talk about wrestling. Just talk to your friends about it, and a lot of people didn't talk to their friends because wrestling was, it depended on what age you were, but wrestling was, got to a stage where it's embarrassing. Can you admit that you like wrestling? And I've never really suffered from that, and I'm happy to admit that I've always, when I've been interested in it, I will talk to anyone about it, and I appreciate it's not cool. But you've got a whole industry shifting moment that happened there in terms of that. But then you add the fact that you've got obviously The Rock involved, who is hugely famous, whatever he is, most followed American man, as we found out through the WWE promo video. Travis Scott, as we mentioned already, and then John Cena doing it, and this is the John Cena who so many people grew up and loved as this babyface and proper babyface, and never turned when he could have turned. When bad things have happened to him, he always, whether it's against Vince or John Laurinaitis, or even in that match that I mentioned at Money in the Bank in Chicago, could have just taken the win, kept the belt away from CM Punk, didn't punch John Laurinaitis in the face, didn't listen to Vince, all of that every time. And there were so many of those things over the years of John Cena that he didn't do it, but he's done it now. And what a moment. Like this is going to be the most watched clip probably in WWE history. Most talked about thing in WWE history. As I said, it absolutely lights, I'm going to say it again, lights a fire on the road to WrestleMania. If you are not excited about WrestleMania now, then I don't think wrestling's for you. If you're not looking forward to this match, what happens in the next 6 weeks, depending on appearances, obviously, Cena is scheduled for at least, I think, 2 Raws on the European. So there's a Raw and a SmackDown in London, and I think Cena's scheduled for that. There's at least 1. I think there's 2 or 3. I'm sure he will be making appearances. Or because they're both Hollywood boys now, maybe they just do satellite appearances and piss people off even more. Because that's what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does. That's what John Cena, Hollywood John Cena does. And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see as heels. That's what they need to be. But they will be in there. I mean, the first crowd reaction for John Cena is going to be interesting. Talia, as I was telling you this morning, they're just going to boo him and boo him. I think the New Day got booed, and Dominic gets booed. This is John Cena. This is their hero. Has aligned himself with the final boss to, we assume, we don't know, but to assume, win number 17, break the record at WrestleMania. And are we going to get that? Are we going to get? I don't know. I'm assuming now this is night 2. Nothing's confirmed, but this is night 2, main event. John Cena with The Rock and probably Travis Scott in his corner against Cody Rhodes. The Rock's going to defy all the rules because The Rock did that in the tag team match at night 1 this year or last year at WrestleMania, and we've got that. I think we are in for a very exciting 6 weeks. I'm excited that I'm going to get to go to SmackDown and Raw in London. Me and Talia are going, and loads of people are going for that. So that's good. And then the other side is maybe the night 1 main event, as I talked about earlier. Seth was cost. I like the fact that Seth said, he said something like, if I'm not going to win, you're not going to win, or whatever, something like that before on SmackDown or whenever it was. And I like that. That is true thing, which is definitely embracing his heel side. So there we go, heel face talk again. I don't know, I might have said this before, but I know a lot of people say heels and faces don't matter. It does matter. It does matter. It doesn't always matter to every extent or whatever. And, some of the heels are the biggest merchant. Roman Reigns for 4 years was a humongous heel and the biggest merchandise mover in WWE. So it's not in those ways, it doesn't matter anymore. But in terms of storyline, I look at the reaction to John Cena turning heel. It matters to people. I think we'll still get a few people that cheer for him in Vegas. There'll be some people who want to see the history of the 17. Obviously, people will cheer for The Rock. I'm assuming The Rock's going to be in his corner. We don't know. We probably won't know anything this week. None of those, Cena, Cody, or The Rock, or Travis Scott, are not scheduled for Raw. So maybe Cody will be on SmackDown. I also, just to note, I think Cody's got not a black eye, but he's got bruising. You just see a quick clip of him when he's got the blood on just as they're outside there. I mean, what a big picture as well. The Rock, Travis Scott, and John Cena first standing over Cody and then down the aisle looking over that. And Michael Cole coming in. I thought that was a good touch. Michael Cole. I love the Wade Barrett commentary. Back to Wade Barrett, the commentary about the chapstick on Michael Cole. The amount of ass kissing with John Cena that this man has done over the years for that to happen. So you've got all of that, and then you've got Seth, Punk, assuming Roman gets ejected, and I think you've got see. This is where I think a triple threat. I would see. I want to see this. We've obviously just had. I mean, there's part of me that wants this match at WrestleMania, and I know so many fans do, of Roman versus Seth, the final battle at WrestleMania. But CM Punk is going to get inserted into that match. If that's the match, if the match is just going to be Seth and Punk, and then Roman gets inserted into it. There's the favor. Is it Seth versus Roman at WrestleMania? And then the favor is, I want to be in that match and be in the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania, Paul. This is a triple threat that I would happily, I know I will be in the absolute minority. I would happily this be night 2 main event, because for me, they're probably my 3 favorite wrestlers of the moment, and Seth Rollins, CM Punk, 3 favorite male wrestlers at the moment. So you've got that, you've got options, and how to build that. I mean, them 3 on the mic is going to be something phenomenal. Paul Heyman as well. Paul Heyman's got double interest in the match, so that's going to be interesting. So we've got that, and that looks like, and again, another time, maybe Bianca and Rhea could have headlined that. Well, maybe it will. And you've listened to me for well over half an hour here, but what I would say is, if you haven't watched Triple H's summary of Elimination Chamber at the press conference afterwards, and I know he's the man behind it all, and I know he's, obviously WWE through and through, but it's perfect summary, probably better than I've done, in terms of where we are, the storytelling, the credit to the right people that live, etc., all of that for the night, the whole storyline, the process, this whole bit about patience as well, of letting stuff down, because that happened at Bad Blood, and loads of people moaning that we never saw the payoff. Well, we got the payoff, because that is that. So everything's done for a reason, and it may take a time. It may you may drop a promo there that doesn't make sense there, and all of that. And wrestling has that. It's the patient. Sometimes you get the build up, and I remember the reaction when, this was obviously in Vince's time, but when Becky Lynch won the title in like 10 seconds from Bianca. Becky Lynch returns, huge pop in Vegas, SummerSlam 22, and then people are furious, and obviously Becky turns heel and all that. But then you get the massive payoff with one of the best women's matches in WrestleMania history, WrestleMania 38, where Bianca finally wins the title back from Becky in a absolute barnstormer of a match. So sometimes things are patient. You get the payoff in the end. I think they threw us off the scent completely. Oh, they definitely threw me off the scent. They definitely threw Talia. I wish I recorded Talia and my reaction to that. Talia just had literally hands over mouth for the whole time. I was just probably swearing in terms of the reaction to John. John Cena's just turned heel. Let's just summarize this whole video, this very lengthy video. And thank you if you've bared with me for watching this all. John Cena turned heel. Never do you think that was going to happen. And I think it's even more shocking that he's done that on his farewell tour. Because obviously he's going to end it as a face. So you've got a journey now of him. Does he win it as a heel? Does he not win it at all because he's turned heel? Does he win it as a face? How quickly can he turn back to being a face? It can't be that quick. How does he get back there? Does he just not break the record? Because John Cena is, for all of, obviously, he's a new character now or whatever. We'll see this. I mean, we've got to see what's John Cena's music going to be. What's John Cena? So obviously, if you haven't seen it, the press conference, John Cena comes in, drops the mic, literally drops the mic, a mic drop, and just walks out, doesn't say anything. I think The Rock says in the press conference about John Cena now going back to filming the movie that he was finishing filming. So we definitely ain't getting John Cena, I don't think, this week. And maybe not for a couple of weeks. I don't know when we're going to get The Rock again. We'll get Travis Scott again. But it's humongous. Wrestling feels humongous at this time, and it probably does to me as a fan of over 30 years. But it feels big. It's got star power. It's got Emmy level storytelling, acting. Obviously, my sister, who hasn't watched wrestling for years, I text her. I sent her the link yesterday of John Cena turning heel, and she said she hasn't watched wrestling since we were kids, and since pre-Attitude Era. So hers was like Hogan era. She hated Hogan too, so she had something about her. But she just said it's crazy that Cena and The Rock have come back to wrestling, and it is crazy because they don't have to. Absolutely zero need financially, money wise, whatever. And people say, oh yeah, Black Adam flopped and he didn't need wrestling, did he? He's got about 50,000 products. He's got tequila. He's got Papatui, everything else, movies, whatever, all of this. And Cena's obviously doing very well in his career. He's got a Peacemaker series, so I think they're doing season 2 now, or they've already done it. But and then obviously he's filming a movie right now, and he's got a movie. They don't need to do it, so they want to do it. So that helps. And also, they've come back better characters. Everyone's seen that. Well, maybe you haven't, but you've seen the pre-John Cena phase and the post-John Cena phase. Acting. The Rock, the final boss character, which we were introduced to this time last year, acting. And they're bringing a level up and a story up. And obviously, you've got a man that had massive rivalry, Triple H, in charge of this, allowing some more creative freedom maybe than was before. So he says this, and it's a collaborative process. I think wrestling is reaching, and everything has peak and then it falls off. So this time next year, this video channel might not exist because wrestling has lost interest, or people aren't watching this, or I'm not talking about it as much, or I'm not as interested because it's just a normal WrestleMania. Back to being a normal, after 40 and now looks like 41. Maybe we're back to a normal WrestleMania in New Orleans, and it will because things peak and all that. But at the moment, if you are not enjoying this, if you are trying to pick holes and stuff, if you're trying to compare it with others, just enjoy it. This is where Nick Khan says WWE is not in competition with other sports entertainment. And Triple H said it again in a press conference. I know he's probably done a bit to wind up other, wrestling fans or whatever. It's not. This is another level of entertainment. This is a live soap opera / drama series / sports event, all combined. And when it's done well, which they are doing a lot well right now, it is phenomenal. And it's a reason why Netflix have paid $5 billion. Because how many people are, maybe haven't watched wrestling and like, oh, I've seen this clip, but I can actually watch the whole thing because I have Netflix anyway, and I didn't realize wrestling was on Netflix. Anyway, enough of the praise. It was phenomenal. If you haven't checked it out, watch Elimination Chamber. Best event since, it's hard. I thought SummerSlam and WrestleMania 40 were amazing last year, so I will digest on that in a few weeks. But it's the best event definitely since SummerSlam last year. Probably the best event since WrestleMania 40. It's up there in terms of overall best PLEs. Another friend texted me saying he didn't want to get too hyped, but he said something like, is it the best non-WrestleMania PLE ever? It's got to be there. We'll look at it in time. And in terms of the heel turn, for me, Shawn Michaels barbershop, Mighty Jannetty will be there as that, but that's not industry shifting. That was just shifting in my, what was it, 12-year-old self. Just that was huge. That felt huge. Obviously Hogan, Stone Cold at WrestleMania, aligning with Vince. Although I do think because that was in Texas and people were still cheering for Stone Cold, that was a tougher one. Although it was still shocking, and the beat down The Rock took, beat down that people take, it happens, it's happened. And and you've had other ones, but those for me are the ones up there in terms of the best heel turns. This is probably there. And we'll look at it over time and see how the story plays out, how the wrestling plays out, WrestleMania, how John Cena's last year plays out. We'll get there. But hope you have enjoyed it. Comment, like, subscribe if you haven't. I am fascinated to see everyone's takes. What do they think the cards are? What do they think the main events for WrestleMania? What do they think of this? Who did you share the clips with? Who did you share with the clips with that hadn't watched wrestling in years? That's why I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by this whole dynamic, this thing of Travis Scott and this Rock and John Cena and this culture. As you can probably tell, I'm intrigued by it all. Right, enough talking.